All right, my royal family. All right. So, how's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. So, we are back again on Cabrera Santana. Facts and fire. Oh, we can bring it. We can definitely bring it. And we have a guest today. I'm going to call you Mr. Anderson. And I happened to run up on Facebook Melanated Fathers of America. Stopped me in my tracks. I checked out your website. I let Lisa know about it, and Lisa was saying we gotta support, you know, our kings 100% because we see in this system they got a new black man of the month, or they shuffle them in and out on the shelf and drag them and desecrate them, and it's our duty and responsibility to uphold how the Creator intended to be here in America, even though things are falling apart in America, which is very sweet.
Mhm.
Very sweet. I have to add that. That does not stop us. This is all about what I talk about on the channel. We must heal in the war and heal in the chaos. So while they going crazy and stuff, we continue to keep doing what we need to do, and we stay focused on the kingdom. So one more thing, one more thing. Um, Mr. Anderson have lots of links, and I'm going to be sending them, and then I would ask the moderators um, to do the same thing because I want to make sure, and I'm gonna show it too. I want to make sure that we hook up to everything because he all over the place. He even do have a YouTube channel too, as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So how we gonna start this out? I'm gonna always give honor to our queen Lisa Cabrera. She will be the first to ask the questions, and then we're gonna just keep rolling with it. Oh, so you there, Lisa? I know she gonna come stepping in just a second.
Okay, here I am.
All right,
Here
Lisa.
I am. Had to unmute myself.
Okay, no problem.
Well, I want to welcome you to the panel, Harrison. It is a pleasure to have you here. I was very impressed with your website. And, you know, in this country, Black men really get a bad rap as far as being fathers is concerned.
Mhm.
And we know in our community, many of the fathers are there. But you know, they like to play up the stereotypes and act as if Black men do not care about their kids or don't stick around for their kids. Now, I, for one, I had my father in the same household,
Mhm.
and I don't believe I would be the person that I am today if he was not there. But I would like to ask you, what inspired you to put up that website?
So I would say, I think it was 2016. It was a little after the Trayvon Martin incident, because at the time, of course, if you look at the history of this country, you know, there's always been this type of police violence. But at that same time, I was beginning to read books. I was read Malcolm X's autobiography. I read some books by Francis Cress Wilson. So I just began to educate myself on how different things worked. And I figured I wanted to do something. You know, I wanted to try my best to liberate my people. And I figured, what perspective could I use, right? Because I wanted to be as honest as possible and as genuine as possible. And being a man that's 38 years old, I have 5 children with 3 different women. I've went through and still deal with the child support system. I've dealt with, that everything that comes with being young, irresponsible, male, and Black, right? So the website for me was just a way to not only inform fathers of history and different things going on in society, but also interview fathers. The biggest thing we do on the website is interview fathers from around the country about everything that we go through in an intent to inspire the next generation of fathers. When I first had my children, and I'm 22, 23 years old, no man in my life I was running myself crazy, just literally, guys, trying to figure out, how do I be a man? How do I lead these 4 little boys I've had already when I really haven't figured out who I am as a man? I haven't figured out my place in this society. So my website is like a Black family hub, or that's what I want it to be, where young Black men, young Black women, we all can go and kind of learn and get an understanding of who we are as people.
Right. But see, I think you are an inspiration because although you did not have that male influence in your life coming up, but you still learned the importance of being a father and being in your children's life. So I have to
Definitely.
commend you for that. And that just go to show you that, there's really no excuse for not being there. I mean, you had to
Definitely.
overcome many obstacles, but you still made a concerted effort to be there for your children. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
Definitely.
much respect. So, me and Lisa have the same thing in common as far as having our fathers in our life. And you will often hear me quote my father often on my main channel. And I did not realize until he passed that he was my master teacher and he was teaching me about this world and this system. I would not have that channel if it was not for my father. Even though my parents divorced, they had me very young, mother at 17, father at 21. But he was always there. And you think they not listening, but I'm telling you, my king, you're doing the right thing. I really, really appreciate your effort. I know it's a thankless job, but we still have to keep going through and stuff. And so you're better to guide them through this system. So the question that I want to ask you, something, and I already know what my queens feel on this. What concerns or fears do you have as a father? On top of that, a melanated, a brother, because got the extra spin. So that's where I want to start right there.
Well, I would say my first concern, the first thing that popped in my head when you said that, is I'm a man who have 5 children. Like I said, 4 of my children do not live in the home with me. Although we're close, although we communicate, although we have a relationship, they're not in the home with me. As I get older and I educate myself on how things work in this country, being in the home with your kids that's the start of everything. And that's not something that I realized early on in life, but I know now that's the nucleus. That's how everything gets started for the child. So my initial fear comes from the fact that I'm not in the home with them, and based on environments they're in, sometimes they have to be subject to things I think I could easily maneuver or change it. That's one thing. The other thing I would say as a Black father is just when our children leave the home and they're in all of these different environments, whether it be school, whether it be at a store, going somewhere with their friends, it's really up to us to make sure they understand how white supremacy works and understand how this system works. So when they're out and about, they're not blind to what can happen. That's one of the reasons why I try to post a lot of stories on my website about the different things that happens in our communities specifically, because I think it's just so dangerous now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if all the adults in our society realize, I mean, your child, all of us, but our kids is one incident away from being a hashtag on Twitter. And just them being everything that goes on and them being out and about is just important that we inform them. So I make it a point to educate them on everything I can just so they can be more prepared. But really, it's just unleashing my children to this system, whether it be public school or where they go, and, the dangers that come with that.
Okay. I do have another question.
Yes.
Now, we know just Black men as a whole, the media has really tarnished and made at every turn a Black man in this country look bad.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think we can do as a community to overcome some of the negativity that has been put out about Black men and Black fathers in
Mm-hmm.
this country? You know, I mean, we know we got problems within our community, and that is really up
Definitely.
to us to resolve those issues.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, unfortunately, many of our people are walking around and repeating the same things about Black men that they hear in mainstream media. What are some of the things that you think we could do to turn all of that around?
Well, I think the biggest thing I would say in the Black community, and I would say for the men, but all of us in general, we just have to love each other. We have to start basic and just care about another Black person, regardless of their religious set, regardless of how far they've gotten in corporate America, regardless of what they do. We should first just see each other as that's my brother. So I'm going to look out for him. I'm going to think about him. I'm going to consider what he's going through. I'm not, because just like you guys just said, I know people who judge, I know men who judge at other Black men through the lens of the dominant white society.
Right.
So they'll see somebody, another brother, and they're shooting at him the same stereotypes that I know wasn't an original thought of his own. So first, I think we have to get back to loving each other and really caring about our fellow man. And then on top of that, I think more than anything, I think we need a code of conduct. We need to know how to conduct ourselves when we're in certain environments. We need to know how to conduct ourselves when you're in a situation and you hear something about your brother or the media is dragging a Black man. We can't just be so quick to jump on the bandwagon when these kind of things are happening. So ultimately, I think care more about each other and create some sort of code that everybody can follow, regardless of what you believe religiously, regardless of what you do for a living. None of that really matters at the end of the day. You Black, the people who run this country see all of us the same way.
Mhm.
So, you know what I'm saying? We gotta get on code.
Yes,
That's true. That's
I
true.
agree.
Yeah, me too. The question I wanted to ask you, because I don't think I ever heard anybody ask it, is even though, you know, we make our mistakes and we have to raise these children and we may not make it, from your perspective, what do you need from the Black mother, you know, in this system? Now, you know,
That's a great question.
no one asked the Black man that, you know, so I like to hear what you have to say.
I think, you know, unfortunately, because of everything that happens to us as a society, being melanated people, the Black woman has it tough. And, you know, the same issues when she sends her son outside, she doesn't have to deal with the same things as an Asian mother or a white mother or a Mexican mother. It's definitely different. So I think one of the biggest things as a Black man that we need from our women is for them to take the time to get to know who they are. In my opinion, once our women take the time to get to know who they are and connect with themselves, that creates strength. So when it's time to raise your child, when it's time to interact with your young boy, even your young girl, you will be more prepared. Because I think typically the women I've been around, and I can only speak for myself, they've had the ability to nurture. You know, a lot of those things comes natural for women. But I think Black women in particular, like you sisters have done, you have to take the time to get to know who you are, get to know who you are as it relates to the United States of America. So you can get a clear understanding of what it is you need to do for your child, how you can't just send them to school, all the things that happens at school. So, you know, we need our women to be strong, but at the same time, I understand that this whole strong Black woman thing has gotten like a bad narrative because some of our women are kind of forced to be in positions where they're holding everything down by themselves. So it definitely has to be a team effort. But, you know, and that's for the Black man and Black woman. We need to take the time to get to know who we are, figure out who we are as it relates to our relationship with the United States. I think for some people, they'll take the time to get to know religion they'll take the time to get to know Christ, which I'm not knocking that. But to me, there's no more power than knowing who you are internally.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have 5 children.
Yes.
Okay, so you have gone through everything, ups and downs with those children.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to someone that's about to become a new father? What advice would you give a man like that?
For a new father,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and this is something he should have done before the woman got pregnant, but I would say create a extremely solid bond with the woman that you're having the child with. You have to create, and this is to me, before the kid comes, you have to take all the time necessary to get to know this woman, to get to understand this woman, to learn everything there is about this woman. And really, in my opinion, you should worship the ground she walks on, because when the union is that tight, when the woman is pregnant and she's going through all those stages of pregnancy, I think when the man really, really loves her and really is invested in everything that's going on, all of that seeps into the unborn child. So I think before anything, one, really get to know the woman and take time to nourish your relationship with her. And two, really get to know yourself, because it's difficult enough being a young Black man running around trying to figure out where you actually fit. But it's even harder when you're trying to direct a child and you haven't figured it out yourself yet, similar to how I was. So I would say take time to nourish those relationships, your relationship with your spirit and your relationship with your woman.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question and stuff. So the other question that I have is, what issues do a father go through? Because some things we may not know, because men have a tendency to stay internal, that you feel disrespected, overlooked, and also that other component, because I'm talking about two different things: disrespected by society itself, and then also you may also get that disrespect from the mother family. And what I really want to know what's going on with my kings, that you feel shackled down. It's like you don't have a voice, and or some stuff we're just doing out of pure ignorance too as well.
Good question. So like I was just saying, a woman figuring out who she is as a person as it relates to her position in the United States is a real big thing, because one thing that I endured early on, now granted, I made mistakes and I was irresponsible. And as the man and the leader of the relationship, to a degree, I set the course for some really bad things to happen. So I'm willing to admit that. But I think early on, and this is before I kind of realized how the child support system and all that worked, it kind of felt like it was the woman and this unknown being against me. So it wasn't, whenever she was to get upset, it didn't feel like she was coming to me and addressing the problem. It was always like it was this thing she was dangling over my head, like this unknown entity that she can use to pull into the situation. And I think for a lot of men, when you don't know who you are as a person, when you may not have a father in your life, and you don't know the value of your place in your child's life, things like that make men go the other way. When a man says, okay, I'm not in a relationship with this woman anymore. I'm trying to make this work. I just got my paycheck. They took 50% of my paycheck. Now I don't have enough money to pay my bills. I don't have enough money to get food for when he comes over. Some men say, you know what? I'll just wipe my hands with this. I'll go outside of the system. I won't take this job. I know men who didn't want to participate in any street activity, wanted to work, wanted to do things the right way. when things went sour with the woman, the child support system, they didn't work on it themselves. They brought this other entity in to help them solve their problem. And a lot of men will say, you know what? I'm throwing my hands up. I don't want to be involved with this system and this woman. It's bad enough that we probably prematurely had this child or didn't take the necessary time to get to know each other. But now when she's upset, she's going to get this assistance or whatever, this money, whatever she may get, which is actually a loan for me as well. So I think men feel the pressure of when things go sour. Not all women do this. I want to make that clear. Not all women do this, but when a woman can bring a third party in to affect your finances or to affect your livelihood, you know, it just feels a little bit unfair. That would be one thing, dealing with the system and the woman. Another thing, and this is something that I've learned from my wife, the relationship I'm in now, my youngest son is with this woman, and she has shown me how you act as a partner, how to be a partner with someone. When my son comes to her with problems with me, she makes him either come to me with the problem or she has my back. She's not going to allow my son to divide us. And I think early on, having kids that don't live with me, it's easy for a child to go to the mother and say the father's doing this or vice versa. And that creates small amounts of division, and it continues to chip away until it, you know, ends up being something really, really big. So, you know, she showed me, just being with her for so long and watching her move and how she lives life. She just showed me the power of a woman. You know, whether you have a son or a daughter, it's something about the mom. It's something about just the love that children have for their mother. It's something about not wanting to see her in pain or not wanting to see her hurt. And I think some women have learned how to manipulate that feeling that a child has out of spite or whatever that may be. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that those are a couple of the biggest things that I've experienced just, you know, trying to be a father out here.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's really great. Now, as a father, and we know how difficult it is out here for just Black men and also our boys out here, dealing with so much racism in the police and problems in school. I've watched so many videos that are just heartbreaking on how Black children are treated in school. What do you think we should do, especially our men, in preparing our children for these types of situations?
I think at a very early age, whether you have a boy or a girl, I say once they start actually going to school, I think it's important to begin giving your kids a Black education on not just slavery, but to begin educating them on where we come from, how we've gotten into the position we're in this country. I think just informing your kids with as much information as possible is all we can do at this point. Because if you don't, they're going to find out sooner or later. Life is going to tell them exactly who they are. And unfortunately, we got too many coons out here. We got too many Black folks who don't see themselves as Black. We got too many Black folks who don't see it. They ain't on team Black, right? And I think that could have started at home. So at this point, once they start talking, now I'm not for hating of anyone. I don't preach to my children to hate any other race of people, but the facts are the facts. We can't negate what actually happened to us, how we actually how it hasn't stopped at all. So if a smart parent You would be using Donald Trump. You'd be using the political circus we're watching. All of this can actually drive home your point right now if you're smart. Kind of like what we were talking about earlier, all the content that you guys have to use because of what's going on. As a parent, you have a lot of content to show your kids, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is how it works. You know what I'm saying? Because I have an 11-year-old son who lives in home with me, and he gets a crash course on white supremacy all the time. He goes to a private school where the majority of the kids are white, but he has white friends, black friends, but he has a clear understanding for his age demographic, of course, of what's going on. So we have to be brutally honest with our children about what's going on, and we all should be doing something to better Black society. So you should be doing something that your kids see. So it could be volunteering. It could be starting a YouTube channel. It could be starting a Black business. So you can show them by example too, but ultimately just give them an education on what's going on out here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say that my father did that with me. He used what was going on in society. It's obvious. It's no way to avoid it because we do have some of our own out here try to avoid the inevitable. And what I notice about having fathers around, the ones who have their head on right, they like to deal with stuff very direct. Let the child have that experience, and that we need that balance. We can't do it by ourselves. We can't do it. And I wanted to just backtrack slightly. If sisters know what's really going on, how the child support system is, and how they get brothers caught in that trick bag. The thing that I would throw out with that is we just gonna have to some way clearly communicate, because bringing the white man in any of our affairs is disgusting to me. I don't need to go to no white man to figure out what we're gonna do with our child. He wasn't there. He wasn't there when we made the child. So what the hell he here now?
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, we have to work with each other on that. So I appreciate bringing that up. Don't hold back. Just let it out. That's what I want you to do. Just let it out. And stuff. Just a quick question. What are the ages of your children?
From 21 all the way down to 11. So I have two 21-year-olds, 17, 16, and 11.
Thank you for the number 17. Oh, yes. Okay, so you've been through a whole bunch of stages. Another question. Okay, that's coming to me. Teaching them about responsible sex. These kids can come up dead now. Something that we can't avoid. And what is the father saying? Because I just want to let you know, I've worked with men. I'm a welder, and I used to work in construction for many years, and I done heard a whole gamut where the fathers just say go get it, and the father say be responsible. So I like to hear your perspective on that.
My perspective on that is I'm honest with them about the fact that them being involved with the woman is inevitable, but I preach to them just being responsible as far as how you treat a woman, like what your intentions are when you meet a woman, being honest, being, focusing on, because a lot of young men, once they start dealing with women, it's over. I mean, they can't focus on school. They can't focus on anything about the future. That kind of takes over their thinking to a degree. So just kind of teaching them to use your big head more than your little head, really. I mean, you need to be focused on life, because if you spend all your time chasing women, you're not going to chase your goal. You're not going to chase your purpose, right? So if you spend your time chasing your purpose, the women will chase you. So you got to kind of reverse that. And sometimes in our community, it's a lot of bravado attached to conquering women, right? So I don't preach that to my kids, and I've never have preached the be a player or get that girl, that one. That's never been my thing, because I've seen where that's got me and friends of mine now. What I'm learning by having 5 boys, they'll grow up and they'll have their personality where maybe they have chosen to be the kind of young man that wants to deal with multiple women or whatever the case may be. You just have to be honest with them about the results of doing those type of things. And also what I did, because when I was a young guy, I didn't know how to put condoms on correctly. So I made sure once my kids hit a certain age, we have, and it's not just like the birds of the bees type of thing, but it's more of a realistic session of how things work and how you need to put this on and things like that. And it's a constant conversation, right? So it isn't one talk and then you leave it alone. You're constantly talking about it. You're constantly bringing certain things up just to, make sure they understand your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my family, I do have some women that are single moms, but they are single moms for a variety of different reasons. Now, some of them were married or had boyfriends that died.
Mm-hmm.
I have a cousin that have children. Her boyfriend is incarcerated. So, when it comes down to a lot of women raising children on their own, I notice from our community, we tend to get this one size fit all thing. The assumption is, well, what did you do to run that man off? And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that is not the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case at all because, I have about 3 aunts in my family and one died of cancer. One was murdered and another one just died of old age. He died. So, what do you think about the perception of single mothers in our community? Where you have a lot of these gender wars going on and finger pointing going on, which I think is completely useless.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have this kind of thing going on. But what is your perspective about a lot of our children are, being brought up in these single mother homes and how to cope with that within our community?
Mm-hmm. Now, I think just like you mentioned, there are instances where the father can't be there, right? Like physically can't be there for whatever reason. I understand that there's a lot of fathers who aren't aware of how this system works. So they do things to get themselves caught up in the system. I get how that works as well. But ultimately, we got to put this on the men, in my opinion, because being the leader of your family, I think we have the ability to dictate how a lot of these situations are going to turn out. So, I don't paint everything with a broad brush. I know that I've seen women be vindictive with their child and this keeps the man away. I've seen men just throw their hands up. You know what I'm saying? So I think ultimately, when we procreate with each other, when we're hooking up with each other as two Black people, we need to understand the importance of what we're doing. We need to understand the importance of, if we conceive this child, the child needs both of us. We need to be at a mental space where we can allow small shit to just go by the wayside. We can't focus on these little bitty issues when ultimately the child is going to be the one hurt by it. So I think the man needs to do a better job of deciding who he wants to lay down with and who he wants to procreate with, because just because you have sex don't mean you have to have a baby. It seems like sometime in our community, we feel like, once you hook up with somebody, like a baby is inevitable. But no, you wasn't made to be around everybody for your whole life. Now, I think sometime we just need to back up and have those conversations like, okay, is the baby going to come out of this? How do we feel about each other? Just have serious conversations. I think too often we wait till there's a baby in the house to start determining how we feel about each other, to start determining if we want to see a future in this. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we need to back up kind of. And men, I have to put it on, of course, women play a part, but I'm a man and I'm around men, so I know how it works. Men need to step up a little bit and say, okay, I'm in this system. If I have a baby with this woman, she can possibly go to child support. She can involve these white folks in my life. And of course, I didn't want this to happen, but I kind of brought it on myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm for my brothers. I'm one of the biggest advocates of understanding the prison to the prison pipeline, how we're overrepresented in the prison system. I know it's unfair, but we have to do a better job of navigating this system and not waiting until it's too late to make the right decision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. How do you feel about 80% of the teachers in the Black community are white females and the impact that that has on our children?
It has a profoundly negative impact. Profoundly negative impact. And I think some of these Caucasian white teachers, maybe just possibly, they're good-hearted. They don't even realize what's taking place. But it's almost, if you come from a suburban white community and that's where you've been your whole life, there's no way for you to relate to a Black child. It's almost impossible unless you took some time to go live in a Black neighborhood or got some Black friends maybe, and you're always around their kids. But other than that, when my Black child does certain things, you're going to take this as they're being unruly. You're going to take it as they need medicine. You're going to take it as their ADHD. All these diagnoses, in my opinion, primarily come from, I've never been around no child like this.
Right.
My white kids don't act like this. So something must be wrong with them. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that. They don't understand the psyche of Black children. That's what I think. And it's almost like when our children are, Black kids can be assertive and they will express how they feel. They don't need some white teacher looking at them just simply expressing themselves as a threat. And I think too much of that goes on. And if you don't understand Black children and understand that they will express themselves and speak their mind, then you don't belong in a classroom with them. And I think it's too much of a disconnect between a white teacher and a Black child.
It's too much of a disconnect. And then they go home. The white teacher goes home and cuts on the news. And what do they see on the news? The news is painting us with this negative brush. They'll see hip hop or some rapper or something. So I think they're associating our child with all of these images that they have in their mind, whether they're doing it, on purpose or not. I think it's definitely happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think they bring too many biases
Yes.
into the classroom, and it is having a terrible impact on Black children.
Yes.
Okay, this is a question I wanted to ask that I have noticed even with my husband, because he has 4 children and he did stay there for his children, even though he went through a divorce. But him making that commitment to be there, and he's even there now, and all his children are grown. Something that I noticed since I've been with him, we don't have any children together, is that he is a father to many children because most of the fathers are not around. Some don't want to be around. Some are, circumstances beyond their control. But that's something that I've seen where he has extended himself out into the community, with his children's friends and things like that. Do you encounter that too as well in other brothers?
Well, yeah. So I played basketball all throughout high school, and recently I've been given an opportunity to coach in a league at my alma mater, at my old high school. So I'm around every weekend. I'm around a lot of young men. And unfortunately, I coach 3 teams. Unfortunately, I would say maybe each team has 2 fathers that I interact with. Every other player comes with his mom or comes with his grandmother. So I have instances where a kid is doing something wrong in school and the grandma calls me. You know what I'm saying? What am I going to do? I'm not going to turn them away. And a part of me coaching, because I understand how the system works, how white supremacy works, a part of me coaching wasn't even about basketball. It was just about, hey, man, let's talk. How do you view this? How do you view that? Let me be an example of a positive, articulate just the right kind of Black man, so you can see me and know you can inspire to be something. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm around a lot of kids, and unfortunately, a lot of them don't. Some of them have male influences, just not the right kind of male influence. So I also think me being a father at 17 years old, and just having all my kids together at times and dealing with the strain of that, it has prepared me to be able to deal with other kids, regardless of their background and where they've come from. I'm able to relate to them on a real level because of my situation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Now, many of us, when we were growing up, the goal was for us to get an education and graduate from school and get a job. That was heavily pushed in our community.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about, instead of pushing our kids to go get jobs, for them to start businesses?
I think every Black home, everyone should have a business. Either everyone's doing it together, maybe the dad's just, every Black family should have a business, some sort of business, and running a business, the details behind, regardless of the kind of business it is, the details behind the business needs to be talked about in the house. The kids need to see what's going on so it can be commonplace. All of us need to be working on being as self-sufficient as possible. And it's unfortunate, Black society, but all of society is mostly workers and followers to a degree, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So every child needs to learn just the mechanics behind running a business too. But I think it helps when the parents run a business. So then they can share with the child what they're doing, how they're moving things around, and all of that will help them. So yes, I definitely think all of us should be working on some type of business. And like I said, it could be a whole family doing a business together. Sometimes, in Asian communities, different communities like that, they'll all live in one house and save their money so they can go buy a business or do something to that degree. So I think all of us need to get more in that mind state. And as my wife has a business, I have a couple businesses that I run, but I think ultimately it's a mentality. Once I changed my mentality about how I felt about working for someone else, not saying that I will never do it again, I can never say that, but just my mentality changed, where I'm going to put the bulk of my energy and my thought process into something I want to do for myself. If I got to go in this company and make some money, whatever, but I'm going to put my soul and my passion into creating something for something for me. Because if you look at Black society as a whole, we don't have a lot of money. Like, the wealth gap between us and other races of people is just tremendous. So that has to be something we all focus on. And many Black people will say we don't have the money, but yes, we do. We just tend to spend it on, bullshit, but we do have the money. We just need to allocate that money to things more positive. And really, like I said, just change our mindset.
Yeah. I see the importance of that, because out of my 4 children, my youngest son started his business at 14. Sometimes if things get low, he'll go work, but he has a different type of attitude, he's 22 now. So I can understand that his walk is different. His independence is totally different, having his own business. And
But you know what, Queen? Your father was a big inspiration in running a business. He had a store, right?
Yes, he did. Yeah. My father had a store. Yeah, we've had a couple of businesses in our family. It's been successful and unsuccessful, and I think you can learn from both of that. But what I wanted to do quickly, let me see. I pray that my screen will work, because it was acting a fool the other night. I wanted to at least take the time to show your website.
Okay.
Let's see if we're gonna be successful here. might have to ask Lisa if it has a full. Let's see. Oh Lord, here we go. Let's see. I've been having some issues. Wanted to show this website. Let me see. I don't know what is going on, but I'm gonna try to show this thing, and I'm not able to, and I don't understand why. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if this will work. No. See if this will work.
I can give it a shot if you
Okay.
you want me to try. Oh, there it is. There it is. You got it.
I got
there
it.
it is.
Okay, let me present to everyone. And here is your site that I respectfully asking everyone to join.
Please.
What I like, because I've been checking it out, like at the very, very top, y'all keeping up with the latest news.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I like that and stuff. And then you have the feminine perspective here.
And a lot of good history too.
Yeah, because I learned something when I went through this. I didn't know about Rose Morgan. And I was looking it up and I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. I like that. And so I learned something. I'm a history buff anyway. And how long have you had this up?
I've had my site up, I would say, since last July, last June. So it's been a little over a year.
Yeah. And this is a community forum.
Yeah, the community forum section where and I write, everything on the site. I'm going to be finishing my book here shortly, but I do all of the writing on the site. And, I've been getting just a really good response from the people in our community. I just try to use all of my experiences, good and bad, to create intriguing conversations around being a father and just being a man in the community, because it's Melanated Fathers of America is definitely about the Black men in the community being better fathers to their kids. But really, it's about us being the fathers to the community, right? Not just your children, as you were speaking a few minutes ago about how your husband kind of fathered other kids in the community. I think that's what it's about. When you become a man and you see what it is out here in our country, I think you owe it to your community to do as much as you can on a personal level.
I like what you have here. You have the Book of the Month Club. And you know what, when our queen here passed, I broke my neck and bought her book because her book is not easy to obtain.
No, it isn't.
I'm just putting it out there for folks. But I have read many of Donald Gowan's books and everything. And
then
I'm getting
some of the
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say some of the books of the month, like the book of the month there, with my brother Jihad Fontanella Ale. He was a brother that I interviewed for the website. So if I interview someone for the site and they have a book coming out or a book they have already, I'll use that as the book of the month for that month.
Yeah,
that is beautiful. So I'm encouraging the royal family to join Melanated Fathers. We need to continue to support each other, and that's good that you able to have an opportunity to interview, because I had even seen, let me go back here to the first one. I mean, you're covering a lot of stuff. This movie was a big movie. It was very powerful. It speaks volumes. So you're staying just right in there in the groove. Pretty much things that we're talking about, the hip hop industry, and keeping up with the stuff that we have to continue to deal with, the political sides of things, and all of that.
And there's a lot of news out there. There's a lot of clickbait and all types of news that I think just having a phone, sometimes you're just drawn to it, right? But I think it's important that we consume the right kind of news. So the only news I'm going to put on the site is things that are addressing Black society specifically. So not too much, Cardi B and all that type of stuff. Is going to be more focused on, what we need to do as a community.
Yeah. Let me bring up here. You do have a let me see, a YouTube channel.
Yes, have the YouTube channel. Need to put more time into the YouTube channel. I'm spreading myself pretty thin with everything that I have going on, but I understand how important actual visuals are as well. So
yeah, you'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the family see everything. With you're everywhere. Over here to Twitter, and I've been putting the links in as we talk. So he's on Twitter. Need to give him some love. Got a nice little following over here on Twitter too, as well.
I'm trying.
It's quite active, and so I'm gonna put that link there too as well. And I'm asking the moderators to spread it around. Facebook. That's where I found you, on Facebook. And some of us, we still use Facebook.
I don't use Fedbook anymore.
I know. I got stuck, Lisa, because my mother-in-law, she's in her 90s, and she on Facebook. There's a lot of older folks in my family, and because I wanted to do the same thing, but I couldn't do it. I was like, damn, because they just happy just to be on that. So I'm stuck. So he's there, and when I seen it, it just stopped me right in my tracks, because I mean, you keep listening to my channel. I know you've been over there. That's talk about my father. It's been about 10 years since he passed, and stuff. And then also you're on Instagram, and you got a nice following too as well on Instagram. So this is the way of the world, and how we support each other and stuff. But yeah, it's beautiful what you have put together, so we can continue to support our kings. But back over here, I'm gonna go back and pull the screen back up, because I did have a question to ask you, a concern that I have. I often hear my husband talk to my sons about not getting caught up in the criminal system, going before these white folks. That's their ultimate goal. And some of the things that I hear my husband say is something as slight as wearing a hat, or a particular type of hat, when you in a car. And I've also heard him, make sure that your registration right, make sure your insurance, don't give them no excuses. And then the number one thing I heard him say, be very limited about what partner get in your car. You don't know if you know what he got on him, different things. Maybe a mother you may miss those things. We might be more concerned he gonna have an accident in the car, or she too. Can't leave out our little queens too as well. And some of those things, I have to be honest with, I didn't think of. I was always thinking about protecting them, that you need that balance, and and I did have my grandfather too as around, so it was a lot of male influence around me, but it was just those certain things. And I just wanted to hear what you have to say about that. The things that we overlook, we're not purposely overlooking it, but it just shows us what we got to have it all together. We got to have our village intact, and even though we may not be together, it is our duty and responsibility. I'm very steadfast about that. We got to raise our royal babies by any means. Yeah. So go ahead.
Now, I talk to them primarily about just respecting themselves and everybody around them, right? So I want them to conduct themselves with respect, regardless of who they're speaking with. I'll be honest, when it comes to how they dress, like their particular image, I don't say too much about that, because in my opinion, for the most part, your crime is being Black. So I don't get too caught up into what you wear per se. Now, there's things I don't like, as far as sagging pants and, tattoos in the wrong places. There are just certain things, in my opinion, it's kind of tacky. But ultimately, I talk to them about respecting themselves and understanding the gravity of the company you keep. You can get into a whole lot of trouble just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I know people hear that a lot, but in our community, it's so true. It's so true. And I've talked to them about being a leader and not a follower. I think sometimes when a kid gets into a situation where it's kind of a peer pressure type of situation, maybe all his friends or everyone he knows is going to do something in particular, it takes a leader and a strong young man to say, you know what, you guys, I'm not going over there today. I'm going to go do this instead. You know what I'm saying? So I think if they're respecting themselves and respecting the situation they're in and the people around them, as well as focusing on being a leader and being mindful of where you are, just like you guys mentioned, having the wrong friend get in the car. And, you know, it's unfortunate in our communities, we'll have because of our interaction with the criminal justice system, we'll have a lot of friends sometimes when we get to a certain age that may have had some involvement with the law. So you just have to be up on who's getting in your car, what's his current situation, you know, because I think sometimes we get into environments where maybe the friend that has the criminal record, maybe he's not a bad guy. Right? Maybe he's your actual friend. Maybe you guys have been through things together and you know he's not the criminal they're painting him to be. But in this society, it don't work that way. If he has a record, police pull you guys over. Now they're searching the car. They're pulling everybody out. They're criminalizing the whole vehicle. So it's just a matter of being aware of who you're with and where you are and knowing you're Black. I think as young Black men, just like your husband was telling them, you got to understand where you are and being in the United States, what role we play and how we're viewed by middle America and just, you know, white society in its entirety to a degree. So I think educating your kids on a lot of things like that can help them put those situations in perspective because, you know, young people will make mistakes. It's just unfortunate that sometimes when you're young and Black and you make a mistake, they treat you like you're a grown man. But, you know, most adolescents in our society make mistakes. We just get punished a little more for it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about how society always want to push Black males into being rappers or getting into sports and not really broadening the horizon and getting into other professions? It's almost like they sort of box a Black man in or a Black child into and condition them to believe that we're only here for white entertainment.
It's funny you say that.
We're capable of doing so much more.
Definitely. It's funny you say that. I wrote an article about that on my website because as a young boy, I will say this. When me and my friends talked about what we were going to do as adults, all of us were going to be athletes. I think in our society, white culture kind of makes the athlete and the Black entertainer like a really sexy position to be in this country. And it's unfortunate that when we cut on the TV, when we look at different forms of entertainment that we have available to us, the only people that we're seeing are the Black athletes, are the Black entertainers. That's why, in my opinion, it's up to the parents to say, hey, what do you want to be when you get older? You know, we'll give them that same question. Once they're veering to something that you think may not just, you know, it's not just that it's not realistic, but as a Black person, too many of us strive to be rappers and damn entertainers. So I think it's up to the parent to tell the kid, okay, cool, you can have a dream to be in the NBA, whatever. Let's create something before that, whether it be a business, whether it be something else that you want to be that's tangible and based on your passion and a little more realistic. So I think sometimes as parents, we have to make our kids aware of all the possibilities that they have. And we have to inform them that, hey, TV, movies, I mean, Black people in general, for a long time, we were only used as a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, going back to the first forms of entertainment, which was blackface, you know what I'm saying? So we've always been caricatures of of one thing or another. So as parents, we just have to make sure that our kids are aware of all these things. So, I don't want to knock a dream. If you really want to be a rapper or a singer, or you got the talent, I don't want to knock your dream, but you have to be realistic and have to know that the percentages of people who make it to these fields is much more slimmer than being a surgeon or being a doctor or being a lawyer. And, to a degree, those things are much more obtainable.
That's true. A question I wanted to ask you about discipline, and a lot of us older folks, we got our behind whooped, or what we'll call corporal. I'm a mother of 4. I've used all forms of discipline. I don't think you're supposed to well down on a child, but sometimes they need to be checked because they can get out of pocket. So, as you're dealing with male children, how do you deal with the discipline aspect of things?
I think there's nothing wrong with a child having, how can I say it, a healthy fear of the father, even the mother to agree. You have to kind of know what I'm capable of doing. Now, I don't think a child should have no more than 1 or 2 real good ass whoopings that whole life, in my opinion. If you got to do it more than that, then there may be something else going on. There may be, other avenues you can explore. But really, the biggest thing I've learned is it depends on the child. Children respond to different things differently. You have to kind of understand what's the most effective way. Sometimes we kind of go with tradition in our community, spanking your kid, whooping your kid's ass, whatever. A lot of that is tradition based and, comes from slavery too. So I don't think you should run to doing that, but you have to be in a position of authority where your kid is going to listen to you regardless. Right. And sometimes you may have to put your hands on them, but that shouldn't be a common occurrence. If you have to do that too much, then, it may be your communication style. That's the problem.
How do you feel about homeschooling our children? Being that we know the school system, public schools have really failed Black children. And we know that these white female teachers are sabotaging our Black children, so they never get ahead of the white children at the same level. So now, there are a lot of Black parents looking for more Afrocentric type education for their kids. And some are now moving forward with homeschooling. How do you feel about that?
I think, of course, we understand the problems we have with our public school system and how it's treated us unfairly for the longest amount of time. So I'm not completely against a parent wanting to try like an alternative, but I would say it really depends on the situation, because like you mentioned, if you can find an Afrocentric type of homeschooling system, then there could be some benefit to that. But to me, if a parent isn't equipped to teach the information, then that can cause a problem also, right? So I think that can definitely work. It just depends on the situation. And if the parent's going to do it themselves, to me, it really depends on their level of education.
Yeah. So is there anything that we did not ask? Because I keep thinking, is there anything that you want to express? We're asking questions, but there may be a message that you want to get out to the world.
Well, the biggest message I would say, because I get a lot of questions about the name of my website, and I kind of use that as a talking point to be able to speak to people. But people have asked me, why didn't you name it Black? Why isn't it African American fathers? I've had someone told me, I want to follow you and be down with what you're doing, bro. But I mean, what is this melanated thing, right? So for me, if I'm going to create something where I'm being honest with people and I'm giving them my honest perspective, everything has to be honest to me. So Black African American. These are social constructs. I think one of the biggest thing we have to do as a people is stop letting other people define us. Stop letting other people give us titles. There's power in naming yourself. There's power in doing that. So I think it's just important for us to understand who we are as a people. And I'm going to continue to push my message. I try my best not to be too preachy, because I think certain Black people who aren't as aware as others, they could be turned off if you approach them the wrong way. So, I'm just going to continue to try to put out quality content that's relatable, and not too preachy. But, I'm going to stand by my people, and that's in the face of everything, right? Because I get some people who give me pushback, people that I used to work with, people that I used to be in environments with, where it was me and them and a whole bunch of other white folks. And now they hear me talking like this, and it's kind of like, whoa, man, what you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So I'm okay with all that type of pushback. We are at war right now, and it's really important that all of us kind of grasp that concept. So I'm gonna just continue to do my part to bring light to everything that's going on.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, war. Yeah, we need everybody in the family. A quick question I want to ask. So do you have like a group of brothers that you hook up with, fathers, on that level? I know you talked about the sport aspects,
Mm-hmm.
things, but is there any what else is going on that you're involved in?
I'm going, all of the any all the activities in my community that are based around Black pride and different things like that. Me and my wife had tried to attend those events. Last July, I had my first event, which was a father-son softball game that went really well. So we're going to have that again this Father's Day. And I am currently looking to develop some programs here, because I understand that being online and dealing with our community as a whole was really, really important to me. But I also want to do the best I can at touching the people that are right around me. So I want to have some workshops for the fathers in my area based on everything we've been speaking about today. So yeah, that's definitely in the future. The softball game is a definite annual event that we're having, but I'm definitely looking to do other things too.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Go ahead, Lisa. Excuse me.
Oh, no. I think he answered the questions very great.
Yeah.
And, again, I want to encourage you to get a Patreon so that you can let the people in the community, especially the online community, support what you're doing. Even if you think it's not important now, but it may help you expand
Very
on
true.
your website or on your channel or whatever whatever projects that you're working on.
Definitely.
If you can consider allowing us to support you in that.
Definitely.
Yeah,
we'll stay connected. Yeah, because this is all interconnected too as well. Because even after we finish with these videos, we're gonna both put them on our main channel, and we always encourage people to share. And then there may be, I did see one brother that was reaching out, and I did send your email and to reach out. I'll let y'all know that he is very prompt. He's on it. You email really, really quick, because I know there's there's the other aspect that you're dealing with. I know you're dealing with the fathers per se too, and you're doing dual. You're dealing with children and fathers and guiding them too as well. So you got a big load, I would imagine that. So that's why I tried to put out everything as possible. So sometimes you just need male energy, somebody vent and purge and not feel like, they're gonna, something gonna happen, because you just need to be able to express yourself. I'm a firm believer in that. That's why I was saying you don't have to hold back over here. Be truthful about everything,
Definitely.
deal with, because the one thing that there's something that I don't like and I stayed away from is male bashing. There's no way I could bash a male. Talk about my father. I have 2 sons. I was close to my grandfather. And what I see, the common denominator that I see, the few sisters that I have hooked up with, one thing that I know, I'm not saying all, is that the ones that had a healthy relationship with their father have a better perspective of what's going on in America and
Definitely.
how funky it can be. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to be realistic. This is a true war. So
Yes, definitely.
that I wanted to put that out. So
Yeah, and I just appreciate you guys for having me on your platform. And like I said, I had an opportunity to listen to your videos and just to get the overall tone of your message. And I think we need all the Black women we can to be on board with this movement and just to be aware and not to let, because white society tries to manipulate us and put us in between each other. And, and there's these feminist movements and all these other type of offshoots of things going on. But at the end of the day, Black women and Black men, we are underserved in this country. We're not treated right equally. So ultimately, us doing this together is going to be the best way to handle it, because women go through stuff that's horrible. A lot of sexism and things that we have been seeing go on. Women have it tough, but Black men do too. So I think when you try to put one over the other, it begins to separate us like all the other things have. So,
But yeah, I don't like the fact that they're trying to just like act like Black men ain't around, period.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where us queens got to step in and say, nah, y'all not gonna do that. Oh no, that's not even an option. I need my kings. You know what I'm saying? And they have been very supportive and wonderful, because we got ups and downs that we have to deal with getting on social media. It's not easy, because
definitely.
it's a lot of stuff that we have to deal with, and you can clearly see it what their goal is in eliminating the Black man. But also what I like about it, it's a part that I do like about it, they're actually pointing to their fears, pointing to who's getting ready to fully rise up, because it's happening. You can feel it. It's energy in the universe that you can feel, because I've often said on my channel, the very day that the Black man fully stand up, because the Black woman gonna stand up, and our royals too, the entire globe is going to bow down to us.
Yep.
So it's coming. They can't stop it. So that, these are the things that we collectively talk about on our channels. And we're going to continue. This ain't going to be the first time. Continue to fellowship with each other and touch bases. And, we're going to do that.
Definitely. I'll be tapping into everything you guys is doing. I'm going to take a look at Lisa's page. You said she's the news lady, so I'm going to take a look at
that's the
all
best
the news she got going on.
I stay over there. My current events. Lisa know how to drag them, and now she got her 24-hour news.
That's what's up, man.
Lisa doing it.
See, I got my 24-hour live stream, so now I'm dragging them around the clock 7 days a week.
There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I love it. So as we conclude, my royal family, I'm gonna do like I always do, close it out with a little music, and don't get off, because I want to talk to you before we when we close out. Okay. And Mr. Anderson, I thank you very, very much. I will make sure the necessary links is on this channel, and this is going to be spreaded around, so there will be more people later on that can hear this too as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I will definitely be posting this on my channel as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
So as we conclude, y'all know what I'm gonna do. It'll resonate with our king here. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, I like this song. This is a pretty damn good song." Gotta close it out. Very sweet. Let's see.
Hi, I'm Stephen Clegian. I've been trading for over 35 years.
1 Peter 2:9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Oh, yeah.
Word inside my heart. And pain before my eyes. Broken people wanting to believe in something. Looking for a light. Trying to find the truth. I was the chosen people. My look, my style, the way I talk. Angel touch me on the hip, that is how I walk. Genesis 32, if you need to see. I'm the real seed of Jacob, that's who I be. You're poured into your world, I'm the lowest of low. But according to a higher, I'm as high as it go. And according to your shire, I'm like diamonds and gold. And everybody who blessed me will be blessed for sure. And everybody who cursed me finna fall through the flow. To a pit of hot lava, watch yourself with the Negro. Judah. Only if you knew the reason why it's me they hate. Cause I'm the one that's about to ruin everything. Bring them down from high dollars to eternal flame. So for now I'm in the slums, deaf, dumb, and blind. And thinking yo 37, tell you how I rise. Yeah. Into the moment. Oh, do you know who you are? Oh, royalty. Once we work together. Now we are the people. Do you know who you are? Royalty, baby. Royalty. They on top of their head. My ground is spiritual, never left my head. My crown invisible, my castle is coming. It ain't got here yet, but it ain't never gonna leave. Once it has been set, kinda rough right now, but it's gonna get better when it rains forever, even never and ever. It ain't never gonna stop, everlasting dominion. Take a good look, watch, despite all your religions. When the cream of the crop, despite all your opinions. Ordained by the Father, doves among pigeons. No one pushing this car, my recycling business. I make one in the spirit. I ain't out here sinning, got some change I can borrow. Baby, y'all like no, giggling to each other, using me for their jokes. They laugh at me in public.
All right, my royal family. That was an excellent interview. And the last thing I want to say is we cannot do it without our kings. We need our kings. And we individually, collectively need to do everything we can to uplift them because we know what America is trying to do. Our eyes is wide open. So I thank you, Mr. Anderson, for giving us some time. Ashe to the royal family.